I'm Melissa Shanahan, and this is the Velocity Work Podcast, episode number 14. This podcast is for attorneys who are running their own firms. We explore tactics, tools, and stories related to pushing past simply lawyering well and into building a successful firm. Working in your firm and working on your business are two very different things. This podcast focuses on the latter. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode. The title of this episode is called The Importance of Tracking, and there's a free template that comes with today's episode, which is amazing. Okay, let's talk about tracking. Whether you are good at tracking inside of your business or not, you have most definitely heard that you should track and that you should be good at tracking, right? This episode is to help create some clarity around tracking so that you can be better at it. If you don't track anything, like hardly anything at all, and when I say tracking, you guys, there are numbers that exist inside of your software program, and there are things that you know are important that are being tracked, but they're kind of all over the place, and you don't have a cadence to be able to look at those key statistics or key metrics or results, so to speak. Just numbers, like what percentage of the time is X happening? What is our revenue month over month? What is there's things, and we will talk more about them, but there's a lot of times firms are like, yeah, we have that information. That doesn't mean anything. Are you pulling it together and are you looking at it on a regular basis and then on a different cadence, evaluating it? Tracking is a huge part of success contribution. Like it is something that contributes heavily to success. And it's not the only thing, but if you don't track the important elements inside your firm, you are blindly operating your firm. If you don't look at what is being tracked inside your firm, you are blindly operating the firm. And that begets chaos, poor decision-making, despite good intentions, poor decision-making, burnout, low morale, poor growth. And this is all preventable. And it's easy to shift the direction here in terms and get, less chaos, be able to make smarter decisions, reduce burnout and fatigue and low morale, and increase your growth because you can actually make decisions based on facts and not feelings, based on numbers and not hunches. What do we mean by tracking? Well, essentially tracking is measuring the results of any effort, any initiative, or any goal. That's the simplest way I know to put it, is measuring the results of. You will also hear people, when they're referring to tracking, talk about measuring progress. Same thing. Anything that you're measuring, because to measure it, you need a number, then you're looking at what you need to be looking at, which is great. Like you're looking at the numbers. Why tracking is important is because, number one, you can spot issues well before they're fires that you have to put out. You can start to see trends or patterns that'll kind of make you cock your head and think, I wonder why that's dropping. Or the opposite, I wonder why that's increasing so rapidly. Like what happened this month that made that go up so much? There's things that you can look and you can start to really understand what is happening in your business and the results that you're getting inside of your business. You'll be able to sort of contemplate, why are those results happening? Were they deliberate or were they not? Right? And so that if they weren't deliberate, it's kind of like, that's when you kind of cock your head and you're like, okay, so where is this stemming from? Where is this coming from? It gives you a read on how things are going well before it's a 2x4 slapping you upside the head, which is always a good thing. Usually 2x4 slapping you in the head is not a fun experience, and it usually means there's fires to put out. It usually means that someone's pissed. It usually means there's just consequences to dealing with that. So that's the first reason. The second reason to track, why should we be tracking, is to measure your progress. And the reason that it's important to measure your progress is because when we are working hard towards something, it can feel like we are a hamster on a hamster wheel. And And so like, what's the point? We're just running for the sake of running towards getting better. I'm putting air quotes around getting better. And there's no way to actually see if we are on the right path. Because we may think that there's a way without tracking to see if we're on the right path, but we're basing it on feelings. We're basing it on like, yeah, I feel like we're doing a really great job because we're putting so much effort into this area. You don't know that. You don't know that unless you look at the results. And the result, you always have to find a way to tie a number or a few different numbers to the initiative so that you can determine if it's working. The other thing I'll say about this is that, there's a page that is in the workbooks when I'm leading private clients through strategic planning. And we talk about this idea of a gap. A gap in business is basically the difference between where you are right now and where you want to be, where you want to go. Well, conceptually speaking, because you could apply that to numbers all day long, right? Like we are at $500,000 in income every year, but we would like to be at $750,000. There's a gap of $250,000 there. But when you think about this more conceptually, there is always going to be a gap between where you are right now and where you want to go in terms of it's almost like this horizon. It's because as a business owner specifically, you have this ideal version of yourself and of the firm. And that ideal version will always change because as you progress, your ideal version keeps growing as well. And so it's almost like if you can imagine me saying to you or any of your team members, hey, I want you to go run to the horizon and just call me when you get there. Like, that doesn't make any sense. If I said that to you, you'd be like, I'm okay. You would look at me like I'm crazy. But that is what we do if we aren't tracking or measuring progress along the way towards our ideal version of ourselves. But if I said to you, hey, can you please go run to that tree? See that tree in the distance? Go run to that tree. And by the way, there's cupcakes for you when you get there. That is way different. You would take off running, right? And so the point is here, the tree that I just told you about represents a milestone. You have to have milestones along the way. And you have to measure your progress from, where you are now to the milestone, to the milestone, to the milestone, because this ideal version of yourself that's really vague is always going to change. It's always going to shift. It's always going to grow. And if you don't have the milestones in between or these goals in between that you're shooting for, then it really does feel like you're just a hamster on a hamster wheel. You've got to get off the hamster wheel and be more deliberate, more strategic, create better morale, and get people engaged towards where you're going, yourself included. So tracking it's really important, I guess, to sort of recap on this. Number one, because you want to go on facts, not feelings. You do not want to go on hunches. You don't want to set goals based on what you think might be good for the firm. That doesn't make any sense. You need to actually understand the numbers because the numbers tell a story. The numbers give you reality. And then you can make decisions based on the reality of things. And also you can spot issues before they become huge, huge things that you have to deal with. And for the good or for the bad, you also not just spot issues, but you spot things that are like really great trends that you don't want to miss out on not seeing that increase or that bump. You want to know what caused that so you can maybe keep replicating that. But if you don't track anything, you're not going to know. You are not going to see the increase. So tracking is important for that reason as well. And then the last is to make sure that you're not just a hamster on a hamster wheel. You actually are really deliberately moving towards something and the exact result you're working towards. And there's something there like, okay, if we can meet this as a team, then, I'll buy us lunch. I'll bring in lunch one day next week. Or, there's things you can do to really celebrate and acknowledge the hard work that went into achieving the result, went into increasing the rates of something so that when you do see the progress, there needs to be a bit of a celebration or an acknowledgement of that. And that will help prevent you from feeling like a hamster on a hamster wheel. So, okay, then now let's talk about what to track. if you are not tracking anything right now, there's 3 key areas of your business that you'll want to decide what numbers are important to you to look at. The first key area is around the financial aspect of the firm. So this could be, like a P&L has information in it that's really helpful and really useful. Your balance sheet also has numbers and information that's really helpful and really useful. Your cash flow statements also have something that's really helpful and really useful. Whatever it is within the financial side of the firm, you can decide what it is that you want to see on a regular basis so that you just have your finger on the pulse of what is happening. The second area of your firm is marketing. So marketing, any efforts that you're making, you should be tracking on a really granular level. You want to know what is happening with the dollars that you're spending. What are the results that you're getting for the dollars that you're spending? And I've had some debate recently with people that, because marketing is one of those things that can take time to really kick in and see the results of, depending on the campaign or the effort. But it doesn't matter. You still track it. You don't wait for it to be good and then start tracking. You start tracking now so that you can start to see when things are moving in the right direction. Because, like for instance, I know when a firm hires someone to handle SEO and their website and all of that, then yeah, it takes a bit of time to get all that sorted. And I mean, even up to 12 months it can take to really know and be able to tell that that's optimized. But you don't start tracking at 12 months from when you hired this company or this person. You start tracking right away. And maybe they'll do the tracking for you, but you should expect to see reports on that very regularly so that you're not just being told, what the improvement is, if there is any, right? And so tracking around your marketing efforts, no matter what the marketing effort is very important. Otherwise, you are operating blindly, and it doesn't mean that you should you need to have reasonable expectations on what you see out of what you're tracking. So set those accordingly, but not tracking. Like if I were to ask somebody to defend, like, why aren't you tracking that effort? I have never heard a good answer. Like it doesn't make any sense not to track. So make sure your marketing efforts are being tracked. The third piece of your firm that you want to have certain numbers that you want to see are around the operation side of the firm. And this is really cases that you're handling and clients that you're helping. Measurable things around the cases that you're handling and the clients that you're helping. So this could be the case volume. It could be number of cases opened every month or number of new hires every month. It could be number of cases closed every month. It could be the average revenue per case is a really solid thing to track. So whatever it is, like there's going to be numbers that you care a lot about that's sort of just based on the operations of the firm. You want to decide 1 to 5 metrics that you always want to look at. So those are the 3 key areas. So what do you want to see within each of those 3 key areas and don't go crazy. You don't need, especially if you are looking at things with a regular cadence now, don't pull together 30 different metrics and look at those every other day. Like that's not what I'm talking about. Pick 1 to 5 metrics in each category that you always want to have the finger on your pulse on, and decide how often you want a report on those things. Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's monthly. We'll talk more about how to get that information to yourself. Before I go on to what else to track or like what else to decide to track, this is a good place to stop to pause and just talk about. There's a lot of talk around, it's towards the end of the year, and strategic planning for 2020 and beyond. And we have a program called Velocity 2020 that's for strategic planning. It's a super affordable option for small firms to be able to strategically plan for 2020 and beyond. Now, one thing that I have provided to the participants before they can set any goals, before they can set any priorities, is that there is a strategy prep spreadsheet that I've created that has some really basic information that they pull from different places in their firm, different software, blah, 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 and they put into one spreadsheet that I have prepared for them. This spreadsheet has calculations built into it. It's awesome. It's a really great starting point. And the thing about strategic planning is you've got to have a comprehensive snapshot of what is going on inside your firm so that you can make decisions about what areas need to be focused on. If you don't know that, then it isn't strategic planning. It's just planning, but with a blindfold on. So it's super important that you have data to look at before you set your goals and measure progress moving forward. Here's the deal. I created this spreadsheet and I'm making it available to you. If you go to velocitywork.com/ let me make sure I have this right, SPS, which stands for Strategy Prep Spreadsheet, velocitywork.com/SPS. It will take you to a page where you can get access to the spreadsheet if you'd like. It is a Google Sheet. It is protected, but it's view only. So once you make a copy, you go to File, make a copy. You can make yourself a copy, and then you can edit it from there and enter in your information and your data. So that's available to you. All the participants of Velocity 2020, it is a prerequisite. They've got to get this stuff filled out before we get to the part where we set goals and priorities and et cetera, moving forward. Before we really, really dive into the strategic planning, feel free, have at it. I would love for you to join Velocity 2020. It is the more I am preparing for it and providing tools and resources and getting things together for the participants, I really want to encourage anyone. I mean, we priced it at a price point it makes it a no-brainer. So if you are someone who would like help with getting all your data into this prep sheet that I've created, and if you like someone that would like advice and information on sort of the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to be able to set a solid strategic plan and walk you through it so that you have one, join us. I'm blown away by the program, and not to toot my own horn because I didn't expect it to be this awesome. I knew it was going to be great, but now that I'm in it, the resources that we're putting together for people, I'm not finding this anywhere else. So come on over and join us. If you want to look at the page where you can enroll for this program, go to velocitywork.com/2020prep. You will be stoked by mid-December with what you've created for yourself through the program. And we start in a few days, so get enrolled. Now, this spreadsheet that I'm giving you as a resource, just for being a listener on the podcast, it isn't the end-all be-all. So you can customize it even further to yourself if you want, but I'm telling you, I know that it has different and better, it's pulling different and better kinds of data than 80% or more of the firms listening to this podcast. And the only reason I know that is because I've had conversations with you guys. I have been on the phone with you guys. I've learned about what you're doing, what you're up to, what your barriers are. And this is a weak spot. I don't think anyone is actually providing this to you in a way where you can really run with it. And I want to help you be the smartest version of yourselves as firm owners. And so this is one of the things that I can do to help give you a leg up, is this spreadsheet. So again, it's not the end all be all. It's a solid starting point. And if you're a private client, it's much, much, much more built out to fit your firm and tell a deeper story. You know, if I'm going to hand out something that many, 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 many people can use, I need to keep it somewhat generic, but it is solid. So have at it. Help yourself. Go over to get the free worksheet. It is velocitywork.com/SPS, which stands for Strategy Prep Spreadsheet. And if you want to just keep going with it, not just get your information in one place, but then from there you want to be able to set a good strategic plan, join us in Velocity 2020. And if you want to learn more about that, it is velocitywork.com/2020prep. Okay, once you have all your data in one spot, which is really important. So whether you use my spreadsheet as a guide or a template or not, all the information that you've said, these are the things that I want to see on a regular cadence. These are the things I want to have my finger on the pulse of. Then you've got to have a way to bring it all in one spot so you can look at it at the cadence you want to without going to 4 or 5 or more different software or different apps to pull the information you want to pull. It needs to be reported somewhere in one place for you. So, and or for your team, right? But at least for you. You could do that in just a spreadsheet. A simple spreadsheet is about as easy as it gets to be able to pipe in certain things. Okay. So like I said, in each area of the business, finance, marketing, and operations, you need to have 1 to 5 statistics, 1 to 5 numbers that you always want to have your finger on the pulse of. You want to view with really regular cadence. But then, we're still talking about what you want to track. Then you have to decide, after looking at all that information for your business alone, what needs to be focused on, what needs to be tracked moving forward. And once you know your desired outcomes, let's just say you want to improve your client experience. Then once you know that, then you can decide, okay, well, what measurables will tell me if we are improving the client experience? And then that is what you need to decide to track. Another way to think about this is you can say the sentence, I will, and then insert your desired outcome or objective. And then end the sentence with as measured by, and then you give the things that you're going to measure. So for instance, we will, and then what you would insert is provide a seamless client experience. That's the desired outcome or objective. And then as measured by, and just 2 things that feel really obvious are the call-in rate for status checks on cases. Like you'll actually measure those to see if the number of calls coming in to get status checks goes down because you're doing a better job of staying on top of all of that for them so that they don't have big question marks. And then the second thing is internal referral rate. So how often are your clients referring new clients? So that sentence would look like, we will provide a seamless client experience as measured by client call-in rate for status checks and internal referral rates. Those are 2 measurable things that will tell you if you're being successful with creating a seamless client experience. So that's kind of something to think about. So you want to think about your desired outcomes that you'd like to see, and then you've got to determine how are you going to know that was successful? What are you going to look at that will tell you that? Because you can't go on feelings, I'm telling you. So you've got to pick a couple of supporting statistics to help you determine if you're successful with this desired outcome you'd like to see. That's how you decide what to track. When deciding a cadence for viewing your data, just start, if you aren't looking at it very often right now, it's kind of ad hoc, start monthly, and then you will quickly identify the things that you actually want to see on a weekly basis, and then you can customize from there. But start monthly where you just, every month, maybe there is through Zapier, or maybe your assistant can send it to you once a month, but once a month there is something that prompts you to look at everything in one spot, see how it's going. Make sure that you're not missing anything, that you're not surprised by anything. In summary, the key things that you want to track, there's 2 sort of categories. One is key elements of your business that you think are very smart to have your eyes on. And within operations, marketing, and finance, pick 1 to 5 in each of those categories. 1 to 5 numbers, 1 to 5 results, 1 to 5 metrics, whatever term resonates with you, and set up a one-stop shop, one place where this information gets piped in so that you can look at it on a regular basis. That is just like the health of the business. That is like you're just looking at the health of the business. And then the only time you should be setting a strategic plan or looking to the future and setting goals is if you have that. If you don't have that, then you're not setting a strategic plan. You're just setting a plan, but you're blindfolded. And so the other things that you really need data around are whatever you do decide to work towards. You need to find ways to track the success of those efforts, of those initiatives, of those desired outcomes. And once you have those, then it's like, okay, great. We can always look at the core metrics of the business. And then there's these efforts, and we're going to measure specific things based on those efforts. That is and when you measure, you have to remember the measurement is the result. That's the thing. So these efforts that you're doing, it doesn't mean there's no action items, there's no tasks, there's no rocks, there's no projects. That is not a way to measure if you're doing those things or not. It's not a way to measure. The only way to measure is to measure the result of the action items, the tasks, the projects. Like, what is it resulting in? Is it getting you the results you want? And we want to see something. There's a number that we want to see go up or, depending, go down, right? So those are the two things, the two kinds of things, the two categories of things you want to think about tracking. Health of the business metrics, which we've talked about, and then also desired outcomes for the business, metrics that will tell you if you're successful with those or not. Okay, that is what I have for you today. I know we could go so deep on tracking, and I would love to with you. I love doing it with my clients. In Velocity 2020, we will be going deep on conversations around tracking and measuring and deciding what needs to be measured and all of those good things. So yeah, head on over. We would love to have you in Velocity 2020, which is velocity.com/2020prep. And then grab your free resource, whether you join us in Velocity 2020 or not. I just want you guys to be able to have some really specific tools to run with. And, it's a cool spreadsheet, but it's not like I need to just keep it to myself. Like, it's not the secret sauce of my business. Like, that's not the thing. It's just a starting point for people that I work with. So I might as well give you the starting points, right? So go get that free spreadsheet that I put together and at least get it filled out the way that it is. If you want to add to it later, you totally can, but at least get the information in there that I have available for you. That is velocitywork.com/SPS. S is in Sam, P is in Paul, S is in Sam. SPS, that stands for Strategy Prep Spreadsheet. Have a wonderful day, wonderful week. Can't wait for those of you who are in Velocity 2020. We hit the ground running real soon. Talk to you guys next week. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Velocity Work Podcast. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you run your own law firm, you have to come see if the Velocity Work client experience is for you. Head over to hello.velocitywork.com to set up a free call. We can learn more about one another, answer any questions we may have for one another, and determine if the Velocity Work client experience is a right fit. I hope to connect with you soon. Show notes from this episode can be found at velocitywork.com/podcast.